Good afternoon. I'm Mary Willie. I'm Vice President of Business Support and Operations for Greater Iowa City. And I am so excited to see this room full of women interested in marketing. I mean, who knew what a hot topic this is right now? We have a great presentation this afternoon with two experts, and we'll be introducing them in a second. I do want to give a couple of announcements. Um, First is, if you're not familiar with our Business Resource Center here, um, pretty much every day during the week, we have experts in different areas that come in to provide a free service for businesses, whether you're a startup, whether you're expanding, or you're looking at succession planning. And these areas cover funding, financial planning, accounting, IT, data security, and legal. And our next edition will be marketing. So, very appropriate meeting. As I said, the service is free. You can go to our website, greateriowacity.com, and schedule an appointment. You could also read about the experts that are here. And the goal is to provide foundational information to help businesses. So before they go to a professional or a different resource, they know the right questions to ask, or they have a plan in mind. So it's getting people started with whatever their needs are. So we're very excited about that. Second thing, if you know a business that's looking for office space, a startup or somebody that's expanding, we do have 3 available offices right now. So let us know. You can let Connor know back there. We'd love to get those offices filled. So let me introduce Lexi Rudolph. Lexi is our specialist for events and for operations, and she's our moderator today. And she's going to introduce our panelist.
Thanks, Mary. Can everyone hear me okay? Awesome. So like Mary said, I'm Lexi Rudolph. I'm our Program and Operations Support Specialist here at Greater Iowa City. I wear a ton of hats, so I help with our events, I help with marketing, operations, so I help put together this lunch, and I'm very excited to see all of you here. This is probably one of our largest events that we've had for one of these lunches. We do have them quarterly. Just a raise of hands, who has never been to a women's lunch before? Wow, so many new people. That's awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. This is super exciting. Typically, we'll have some guided questions that I have, and a few of you have filled out the survey, which is awesome. So I kind of get to see a little bit of your backgrounds, if you're a business owner, what your business does, and what you're here for today. So we want to make sure that this discussion is as beneficial for you all as possible. So I have some questions written out based off of what you guys have filled out in the survey. But if you have a follow-up or if you have something you want to dive into a little bit more, please raise your hand and we will get to you because we want this discussion to be as useful for you guys so you guys can walk away with as much marketing information as you can. Again, I'm not the expert here. I'm just guiding the discussion. So please raise your hand if you have any questions. But with that, I'm going to let our panelists introduce themselves and their background, how they got into marketing and where they are at today. So whoever wants to go first, you're welcome.
Hi, I am Lexi Rector. I'm the founder of Archer Growth Marketing. This is my second year in business, so I just rebranded, relaunched. I am specifically a boutique marketing agency for health and wellness service providers. The past year, I did fractional CMO and general marketing consulting, so I still do a little bit of that, but my focus right now is building out the agency side. My background, I was always the one-person marketing team at every job that I ever had, so I got really good at marketing and doing a little bit of everything, and then I found what is demand generation marketing, so that is a B2B type of marketing where you sit in between sales and marketing and make sure everything is revenue aligned, and I have taken that into my entrepreneurial journey with me.
Hi, I'm Laura Taylor, and for the last 15 years, I've been running Woofables. But prior to that, my 25-year career before that was in marketing. starting out in entry-level positions and then working my way up to executive roles. So I won't bore you with the 25 years, but it was in
A variety of industries, so it kind of spreads the gamut. That's it.
Okay, so to start us off, one of the areas of marketing that we're going to touch on is strategy. So the first question I have prepared for you guys is there are so many marketing strategies to choose from. Can you break down the difference between organic marketing and paid advertising? And when should a business consider investing in paid ads? This was a question that was brought up a few times on the survey.
I have a lot of opinions on this, so I wanted to give Laura a chance first. So I believe in phased marketing because you can't do everything all at once. And I think it's really important to get good at one thing before you move on to the next. So in digital marketing and social media specifically, I think content creation, the quality of content that you're creating is really, really important. And I would focus there on creating really good quality content that connects with your audience and kind of prove that out and spend all of your time, money, whatever resources you have there. And then I would move on to more of a social media management where you're starting to engage and build your audience a little bit more. Um, you should be able to kind of systematize your content creation so you have more time to focus on the engagement. And then once you have all of that, I like to focus on email marketing. So nurturing any warm audience that you have. So you can use the traction that you built in your content creation and your social media. You can start a lead magnet or some way to get them on your email list, and you can start nurturing your customers. At that point, once you have email nurturing, then I recommend paid ads. Paid ads is not something that I would just jump into because it basically just sets on fire what you are currently doing. So if you don't have a proven out audience, a proven out offer, you're going to be burning money. If you do run ads on your own, there is a learning curve. So you might be spending a little bit more money than if you had an experienced ads manager. But ads managers are expensive. They can go from $1,500 to $3,000. And so with that type of investment, you also need to have ad spend on top of it. So I would really, really focus on proving out the content, your organic, and your offers, and then investing in something like paid ads to kind of speed all of that up.
The only thing I would add to that is usually those kinds of efforts are your ultimate goal is you're trying to drive traffic to your website. And so first being sensitive to making sure that your website is doing its job. Otherwise, you're going to be doing all these efforts and you're sending them somewhere where you aren't really coming across the way you want to and you're not going to accomplish what you want to.
Awesome. The next area of strategy would be regarding how to budget marketing and picking the strategies that you are looking to do, but within low cost. That was a high priority for people that filled out the survey. So what are some low budget marketing strategies that you think are highly effective for especially small businesses just getting started?
So, like I said, focus is huge here. So, focusing on one channel at a time, whether that's the content creation, email, whatever it is, I would focus. When I look at budgets, it's not just money, it's also time because we are very limited on the amount of time that we have. So I would focus on one thing and get really good at that. And then when it comes to like trends for 2025, it's actually really exciting because the best kind of content right now is UGC, so user generated content, and it's cheap to make that. So you don't need fancy equipment. You can use your phone. You can do it DIY, and that works better and performs better. We're seeing it in the ad space too, than highly produced content. So that's a huge advantage for you guys. I would take advantage of that and feel confident in what you can produce at a DIY level because we are seeing that perform better. And then I would say micro influencers. So I don't know if anyone here has heard of Hummingbirds. They're based out of Des Moines. Yeah, Hummingbirds is really, really awesome. I encourage everyone to kind of go look at what they're doing. But basically, they are connecting small businesses with people in their local areas to promote their products or services. It's really, really, really cheap because it's not huge influencers, and they're doing amazing things. They're also an Iowa woman-owned business. So highly recommend looking into them.
I guess one angle I look at is, in general, businesses need to budget. I've seen ranges of, like, say, 5% to 20% of your revenues towards marketing efforts. And very generally, B2B is generally a smaller percentage than consumer. So if you're marketing to B2B, maybe you'll be more in the 5 to 10%, maybe 12% range. If you're marketing to consumers, expect that it's going to be more 10 to 20%. So maybe that can help you to start out to have just a budget and a number. And then ask yourself, and if you have the luxury to ask your current customer base, where did they learn about you? And who are they? What are their demographics? And that can help you to brainstorm on where I can go to find more of that demographic. And they'll tell you, how they got connected with you, and that can also help you to figure those things out. And I would make those things then the priority. The question then is, how well does that fit into your 5 or 10%, 20% budget that you have? And then I guess I would say, especially if you're trying something new, really get creative in asking a lot of questions when you're setting it up on how can you just test this for as cheaply as possible. You're just trying to get a little nibble. You're just trying to see if this has any legs at all without spending an arm and a leg to find out if it has any legs at all. And get that answer first before you spend a lot of money. That's definitely a mistake I've made a lot over the years, is I really think something can work and I'll spend a lot of money on it and it totally fails. And in hindsight, when I look back on it, there were other ways that I could have taken baby steps before I made that investment.
What does B2B, business to business? Sorry. And it was said cups kind, so I was just like, yeah.
No, thank you for asking the question. Sticking with like how to find your target audience, when you guys work with entrepreneurs, or if you have, to develop their marketing strategies, what is the first step that you take in understanding their brand and their target audience? Like, how would you go about discovering that group of people?
The business owner knows their business the best. So as a marketer, I'm never going to be able to tell a business owner something about their business that they don't already know. So asking them, and if they aren't connected with their customers and don't have that dialogue, you can try to engage with them going forward and figure that out.
I was lucky, for a part of my career, I worked for a company that went through this phase where they bought up a lot of other brands. And when they did that, they hired an agency that came in and took us through a branding exercise. And we literally went through that branding exercise with every brand that we bought. And it's called a branding wheel. And I love this tool. You can either do it all by yourself if that's all you've got, if you can pull in a couple of customers or even just people who are familiar with your business to do an exercise like this with you. But it forces you to think through from your customer's viewpoint. How does my product or service make them feel? What benefits do they get out of it? And you're really able, it takes you through narrowing down to 3 words is the end goal, down to 3 words. What does your brand stand for? And I remember a lot of the comments in here said one of the things that, people struggle with is consistency. Well, that to me is the key to helping you with consistency. So for Woofables, for example, our 3 words are that we're handmade, natural ingredients, and with care. And where that drives us every day is whether we're communicating with our customers or with our employees, those 3 things are always emphasized. And they're always the first things. We might say them in different ways. Sometimes instead of saying handmade, we say from scratch, or sometimes we say baked fresh. So you can interchange different words, but you're consistent with those 3 things. And your ultimate goal is, if you were to ask a variety of customers or a variety of employees, what does Woofables stand for, they all would say the same 3 things. That's your ultimate goal. And so if you keep that in your head, anytime you're creating any communication, those 3 things should rule, I guess.
That's super helpful. Thank you, Laura. Along with that, how can women entrepreneurs cultivate long-term brand loyalty? So you can obviously have the 3 words in your head, but how do you create that brand loyalty, especially when starting out? And when do you think is key to create lasting relationships with your customers? Like what relationships, how to build those, and then how that relates to brand loyalty, if that makes sense.
So the way I prepped for this question was I read it as personal branding as a way to market. And my answer to that was you don't necessarily need to build a personal brand. Depending on your business, you can have just the business, and that is good enough. Founder-led growth is huge right now. People do love connecting with people. So if that is something that you are comfortable with, if you think that it would be advantageous and would connect with your customers, then I would definitely do that. And there's a couple ways that you can do that. You can do that within the business. So you have one business account and you can connect personally on it or share your personal brand on it. Or what I just did in my rebrand is I have a personal brand where it's more of the entrepreneurial. I love health and wellness. I eat, live, and breathe it. So it's the lifestyle side of things where I'm connecting with people. And then on the agency side, I have educational and tactical information because that's what I want the agency to be known for, where if you see a piece of our content, I want you to be able to go use it that day. And so those are kind of the 2 brands that I've split out and how I'm dealing with it. But I think it really depends on your business and your customers.
Yeah, this is a hard one for me because I can't really, I personally have a hard time talking about having a personal brand that's different than my business brand. I don't know how you can accomplish that. But to build brand loyalty, I think you have to be consistent. And so that's why when I saw so many comments in the questions that were answered about consistency being a struggle, that is, I think, the route to building loyalty is you've got to be consistent with it. You can't, like when we say we care, I just die when I hear about a customer who has a complaint because we have shown that customer that we don't care, and we have just lost any loyalty that we had with that customer. So if you're gonna hang out on a limb there and say you care, you got to do it all the time.
Yeah, and one thing to add to that, like I think a lot of the markets are oversaturated, so it's very easy for someone to just go to a different business if they have a bad experience. So obviously delivery and how you make people feel is what ultimately is going to keep them or not keep them. Like if I don't have a personal connection with someone and I can find either a better service for the same price or the same service for a cheaper price, I'm going to go where the price is. So I think that's really the only way that you can kind of compete when it comes to like your competitors is people genuinely liking you.
So, Lexi, this question might be more geared towards you since you just recently went through a rebrand, but what are the key differences, how do you know when it's time to evolve or rebrand your business? And how can we manage that transition without losing the loyal customer base that people have built?
Oh my gosh, that's a huge one. Okay, so I can give my personal story as to why I decided to rebrand. So when I launched my business a year ago, I didn't have a specific market. It was kind of just like, I do marketing and I do all marketing and talk to me and let's come up with what you need. And that isn't a sustainable way to grow a business or to market a business. And so that meant that it was time for me to pivot and for me to get more clear on who my audience was, how I can talk to them and actually help them, and the services that I could offer them. So it made sense for me. If it makes sense for you to do that, then I highly recommend pivoting. It's one of the best things that you can do is just, this didn't work. And I think everything is experiments and testing in business and especially marketing. But you're kind of always just figuring out what is going to work. And so you want to figure out really quickly if it's working, if it's not working, and at what point it makes sense to pivot.
I'm just thinking, right now, Wolfables, I think in some ways you could say is going through a rebrand, but we're kind of not. So let me just kind of explain that. The pet industry right now is going through a slump, and they're attributing a lot of it to post-COVID, that the market is kind of righting itself from the increases that we saw through COVID. Um, and, our treats are luxury. I call them luxury treats. So we have a luxury product at a time when the marketplace is sensitive to pricing and our industry as a whole is in a slump. So we are currently working on a line of treats that right now we're working on a better word for this, but we're calling them simplified treats. Because for us, our biggest expense is the time and the labor it takes to decorate the treats. I don't know how many of you have seen them, but I mean, if you imagine a human Christmas cookie, that's the level of these treats. So we're currently working on a line that right now we're calling them simplified treats, where the decorating time is more than cut in half, which means we'll be able to lower the price of our treats by about 30%. Now, the reason why I say, so in a sense, you could say that's a rebrand, but the reason why I'm leery to call it a rebrand is because we're still making them by hand. We're still using natural ingredients, and we still care, and we're still giving you the product that we said we would give you. So I guess maybe that's something that you want to think about too. We don't want to use the word rebrand too broadly. Sometimes you need to make adjustments for the marketplace, but you aren't truly rebranding those core 3 things that you say about yourself. So there's two levels, I guess.
Awesome. Along with branding, what are some marketing trends that you both foresee will be in the future, maybe for women-led businesses, maybe just in general? And how can we adapt our branding strategies to stay ahead of that curve or stay with the curve?
I'm trying to find my notes on this. Um,
Does anybody else see anything new or changing or evolving that you're struggling with? Yeah.
So I'm seeing an exodus from Facebook with the political climate. And so, I mean, I think I'm very interested in, I connect very well with people out there, but people are leaving, and they're leaving in droves. So is that, do we think that that's temporary? Do we think we should do something about it quickly? Or what do you guys see?
I have been looking into this a lot. I have also seen that, and that is, oh yes. So basically, she was asking about the mass exodus of Facebook and Instagram because of the political climate. I do think there's not any platform usage numbers that we can look at yet. So it's really hard to say whether that's reality or whether that is the bubble that you're in on social media, because we know that the algorithm is really good, right? And so the people that you hang out with might have all of the same opinions, but that doesn't necessarily apply to the platform as a whole. So I think it's important to keep an eye on it. And again, like, talk to your audience. That's what we talk about all the time. Talk to your customers, talk to your audience. They do come out with platform numbers. So you can look at the platform, what the daily users are, and the demographics of those daily users. So the data will be there in about 2 months for this month. So I would look at the data, but that is something that I'm watching very, very closely. And there are other channels, like Reddit is blowing up right now. You could do that. I know, Threads is part of Meta, but Threads just overtook Twitter. So I don't necessarily know if Meta's going to go very far. My entire agency model is Instagram, social media. So I am still very confident in that channel. But depending on who your audience is, if your audience is not there, it doesn't make sense for you.
So kind of another response to that is the exodus from Facebook could be an opportunity to expand your audience by doing some boosting using keywords so that people who are still remaining who didn't see you before can now see you. And then hopefully you have brand loyalty with the folks that have left, that you can connect with them in another way.
I'm interested to see how that shakes out, because if it's not businesses that are posting that are leaving, we're going to have less eyes, which means less ad space, even if it's organic, like that's still ad space. So we'll have less people on the platform to see the content, which means your content is not going to be seen if we still have the same number of businesses posting. If we have a max exodus of the businesses that are posting, then and the eyes stay the same. So it'll be interesting to see how those ratios go. I am super concerned about that, because my trends for 2025 was the market in specifically social media is completely oversaturated. I wished that people would stop posting and go away for the people who stay on it. But I don't see that happening. I just am worried that all the customers are going to leave and then the businesses will keep posting because it's what's worked for them. So I would keep an eye on that. I am a huge advocate of boosting posts. You can YouTube and look it up, but there are ways that you can boost posts within Ads Manager, and that will make your money go further. You can do $2 to $5 a day boosting your organic, good quality posts, and that will get you in front of your target customer guaranteed. So I do think like that is a strategy that I use for myself and my clients.
Where do you see email marketing playing a factor in this component now?
Email marketing is the most important channel that you guys can invest in because it's an owned channel. So like we've seen this with Facebook, TikTok, those channels are rented channels. They can get taken away from you. The more people that go in, those eyes get taken away from you. So any channel that you do not own is very, very scary. And that's where, with what Laura was saying, that's why you move people from social media to your website. And ideally, you're getting your email so that you can nurture them. So I think email is huge. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think cold email, like and spamming people, that is dead. But if you have a warm audience that actually cares about storytelling is also huge. Like if you can tell a story in an email, you're golden in an email. But yeah, I think email marketing is huge. And that's why I don't even suggest investing in paid ads before you have your email marketing figured out.
I think email marketing also is a great opportunity to send a message that's more targeted and specific to them. So you're able to narrow in and really speak to their language.
Nikosh, I'm interested in the opposite of this question. Yes. Instead of thinking about trends, like Laura, maybe this is more focused toward you, but like what have you seen across your career that people always care about? Like, is it quality over cost? Is it like, what are the things that you've seen over your career that have been like staples in what people want? Like, what do our customers want from us?
You're wanting me, I feel like I'm putting on a professor hat here. The three-legged stool, QPS, quality, price, and service. And the rule is that your brand needs to have 2 out of 3 of those things. If you only have one, you aren't bringing enough value. If you have all 3, you're providing too much value for you're spending too much and providing too much value. So to put that into examples, Woofables is high quality, high service, but not low on price because we're high priced. McDonald's is high on service, high on price, but low on quality. So over the test of time, it's been proven that brands that pick 2 out of those 3 and are consistent with your messaging will, what do you want to say, survive the test of time.
So you make a choice. These are the 2 of the 3 things that I'm going to focus on. I'm always going to focus on these things.
Yeah.
And okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for?
What has been, I think this is for both of you guys, what has been the most fulfilling part of your career, and what is something that has been not so fulfilling, or wherever you're at or past previous?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what has been most fulfilling and not fulfilling in our careers? Most fulfilling is the past year getting to work with small businesses, and I have spent, 5 years deep in marketing, and I got to work at some pretty amazing companies, and it's been really, really awesome to leverage all of the things that I learned and all of the investments that they made in me, and experiences that I got, and give it to small businesses who wouldn't have that knowledge or the expertise that I'm able to bring to them. So that's the mission behind the whole business that I have. So that's been it. And then the hardest part is, in my experience, being in marketing is just brutal because people think it's easy, or they think that like it's just not valued as much. So I think that's always been really hard, is educating people on what is marketing, what is good marketing, and what does that look like? So yeah, that's been the hardest part for sure.
I'd say for me, the most rewarding has been just when you have your own business, you're able to make your own decisions, make the calls, and you obviously have to have the confidence that you will make the best call that you can make with what you know of at the time. And so what's most brutal with that, it kind of ties in with it, is then when things aren't sailing along smoothly and going well, it's up to you. The bottom line is it comes down to you, and you have to keep up the momentum. You have to keep up the positive attitude. You have to keep up the strength to dig yourself out when you're going through the rough times.
Yeah, another question. Excuse me. Do you have any, or what would you say your biggest piece of advice is for young entrepreneurs? I don't mean like age, but like young in their career or in their industry that are trying to break through in some of these oversaturated markets. Like knowing that it's a saturated market, but knowing that that's something you still want to pursue. You're passionate about it. You have a plan. You have ideas, but knowing that it's going to take, like, it's not something that's extremely, extremely niche. It might be kind of broad, and you're trying to find that unique selling point. You're trying to find that, like, that your niche even in something that broad.
I'm gonna let Laura answer because I'm new to this. Mine is a little bit more green.
My first thought is you've got to find something that makes you different. You've got to. Which I know can be. I don't know what product or service we're talking about, but like one that seems super duper hard to me is coffee.
Like coffee, I'm thinking like I'm in like the fitness industry. Like you think like
and I'm sure like you can relate. So like health and wellness, it's huge. There's so many buzzwords. There's so much that like everyone is in their health and wellness. And like, so when you're trying to break through and trying to find that thing that like makes you different, like what is something to like cling on to it or like finding that?
So that's where we talk about founder-led growth. I think that's so, so powerful because it's you building your own personal brand, and that is what sets you apart. That's why I did my pivot and what I'm doing right now because in health and wellness, there are a lot of people in health and wellness, and me specifically, like they're used to being hunted. They're used to being marketed to. They're used to being sold. I need to show that if I say that this is actually something that I'm passionate about and I live, sleep, breathe it, I need to show that. I can't just say that. And so that's where I'm kind of differentiating myself. So I think anything where, and the buzzword authentic, right? Like just be authentic because there are going to be people who connect with you and your people will find you. The more that you can be authentic and put yourself out there, they're going to come to you. So I do think founder-led growth is huge right now for that reason. Like in any oversaturated market, founder-led growth is what is taking off.
Another thought is you can't speak to your audience and ask questions enough. And sometimes when you seek out conversations with them about, what things do they like about experiences they've had, what things don't they like about experiences they've had, you're able to pull nuggets from that allow you to incorporate something into your solution that is different, that solves that problem that nobody else is solving.
That makes sense. Thank you. I was just asking about founder-led growth. Could you kind of just explain in a little bit more detail what you mean by that?
Yeah. So basically, instead of marketing the business, and which I do have the side where I am marketing the business, I am marketing myself. Yep. Yep. I'm marketing myself and I am the business's biggest advocate. Yep.
So since we've already started touching on social media, can you guys share your journeys about how you first started using social media to market your business? It's a very broad question, but just to get the ball rolling on social media here.
I started out in sales and I looked around and thought, wow, there's a better way that I can be doing this. I don't need to be cold emailing or calling. I need to do something to educate people and bring them to me. I don't want to bother people. I hate sales. So that was how I got into social media because the simple answer is that's where our audience was. And so that happened to be LinkedIn at the time. And again, just following where your audience is, where they're hanging out. And there's kind of two different types of channels. So there's the places that they're hanging out, which is social media. You're scrolling. They're not really looking for anything. So it should be really top of funnel, educational branding content. And then there are other channels like maybe Reddit, Quora, G2, that they are decision channels. So those are the places where they're really looking at what is your product, what is the service that you provide, and what's the price. So I would say, social media might not be relevant to every business. And that's coming from a social media agency. It's not for every business. It's just, is that where your audience is? And then also, I really believe in leaning into your strengths because you can't always afford to outsource. So if social media is something that's really, really hard for you, I always encourage entrepreneurs to lean into what works for them. If you're really good at networking or you're really good at emails or anything, lean into what works for you because trying to make yourself do social media, it's not going to work. It's going to be a waste of your time and it's going to feel really defeating to you.
Yeah, this question is reminding me when we used to have a storefront, and when we had the storefront, our social media was much more about the dogs that came in and the customers that came in, and we had much more of a following from the local community and got a lot more likes. And about 2 years ago, we closed our storefront, and now we lost that. And so our social media has transitioned to, speaking to people across the country and just showing our treats throughout the year and showing dogs enjoying those treats. but the interaction that we get has plummeted. It's been a struggle for us to get back that momentum that we had gained when you had that local energy that you were able to drive. And quite frankly, we haven't found a way. We haven't been successful getting that back.
What advice would you guys give to entrepreneurs who may feel overwhelmed by the demands of managing multiple social media platforms? Like you said, maybe it doesn't work for you or your business, but if it maybe could work for a business, what would you suggest doing?
Focus. I would just pick one thing. If you could, like, in a business, you have 500 problems at all times, and it is really easy to just try to figure out how to put out all of the fires, and you end up putting out nothing. So if you can find one thing in your business where if you fix that problem, it will probably fix half of your other problems. Do that one thing. And obviously, at a personal level, that's what I'm doing. But even in running a business, I think it's really important to have your employees also focused on that problem. Like everyone should be working towards the same thing, and we shouldn't be putting our resources all over the place because sometimes you can fix one problem and that fix 50 others.
Yeah, I definitely echo pick one or two platforms and be really good at those rather than spreading yourself too thin.
So, knowing the different platforms, how would you categorize the content that's most successful? Like, say, Facebook is much different from TikTok, and the people that are on Instagram are looking for something different. So, could you kind of sum up the content that people are looking for on, say, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, for example?
All of those are just like distraction channels. So they're usually looking for something fun because that like doom scrolling is a thing, right? And it's because you're overwhelmed and you just need a break. And so people are usually just scrolling. That's why we're finding that user generated content, even in ads, performs the best because people aren't necessarily looking for businesses in their feed. So when looking at the actual types of content, Reels are performing the best across the board. Facebook, I've actually been seeing across a couple clients now that Facebook performs better than Instagram for some reason. So I would not count Facebook out. If you're posting on Instagram, make that Facebook page and make sure that it's cross-posting to Facebook because I've been seeing a ton of reach there, way more than Instagram. But ultimately, the posts that perform the best are going to be Reels for now.
Yep. So just to elaborate on that, can you explain the difference when you go into Facebook and you're adding a video and it says, do you want to add a video or do you want to add a reel? And I've noticed lately that now when I'm putting in a video, I don't have the same functionality as I did before. It like completely changed. Like for example, yesterday I couldn't add captions in Facebook, but I could add captions in Instagram. And I don't know why that went away.
So I don't want to scare anybody, but for some reason, Meta seems to be like genuinely falling apart in the back end. And I was trying not to mention that today. But no, I've been seeing a ton of bugs too. I've been having a lot of bugs in Meta Business, in Ads Manager. I don't know what's going on. They've also taken away the support function in everything except for Ads Manager. And I tried to reach out to them about an integration that I was having an issue with, and they wouldn't even let my support request go through because it wasn't about ads. So I don't know necessarily. I know they're doing a ton of platform changes. I'm having issues where my Facebook will not let me upload Reels. And to answer the first part of that question of what's the difference between videos and Reels, so videos are going to show up in your feed and Reels are their own separate thing. So Reels are just like an Instagram where you can go to that Reels tab and it shows up, and it's more of the TikTok style. It has like a For You page and it's showing up. Facebook has that feature as well. And you'll probably notice this now, but when you go into your Instagram, if you go into cross posting and then you choose Facebook, you can either upload it to your Facebook profile or you can share it as a reel, and that will not show up on your profile, but it will show up in the Reels tab on Facebook and make it explorable.
So do you recommend if you're uploading a video to also make it a reel? Should you do both with the same?
I would always do reel. if you can, like, just to make it easier, I would upload it to Instagram. I would have it automatically go over to Facebook. Like I said, there's some bug right now where like it won't go over. I've tried a million times to get all my content over. I think one went through. So at that point, it does make sense to upload it as a video because I want that content there. But I would share it as a reel, and possibly, like, if you want it to stay on your page, then also upload it as a video. Yep.
How often should we be sending out emails? And are there parameters on like how long it should be, what needs to be at the top to get somebody to read it?
As far as how often, I guess the first thing I would say is how often do you have something unique and valuable to say to your customers? So if by sending an email out every week, you are grasping at straws for what you're going to say and what you're going to offer them, I would say that's too much, because you don't want to get yourself into a spot where your reader doesn't value what you have to say anymore. So there isn't a pat answer we'd all probably have different answers for our business, because I think the root of it gets back to how often do you have something new and unique and compelling to say to them, and that's how often you should be emailing them.
Yeah, and there's obviously a difference in between like service providers, brick and mortar, and e-com. So I think for service providers specifically, you can get away with more value-based educational content. So it might be more appropriate to send more emails at that point. And then just keep an eye on your analytics. If your open rate is less than 20%, then you're starting to lose people. So that is like a good metric to look at.
Yeah, you just said something that, like for us, fourth quarter is our peak season. Business is usually 30 to 50% higher in fourth quarter. So we're sending out emails way more frequently in fourth quarter than the rest of the year. So that's the other thing to weigh out.
And the way that I do my email nurturing, I have a lead magnet that's a free social media workbook. If people sign up for this social media workbook, I only send them 3 emails. And those 3 emails are across 3 days where I'm teaching them how to use the workbook. And then I say, okay, bye. Follow me on Instagram, because I don't want to constantly bug them. I do want when they see my name, they're actually interested, and it's not, you just get used to, it's like when you see a notification over and over again and you just automatically like exit out. That's what a lot of people do with emails. So I don't have a regular cadence other than when they opt in and I'm hitting them while they're warm. And then I have my call to actions, my next steps. And if they don't engage, then I leave them alone.
Question, could you talk a little bit about your operations? So in your businesses, do you have one person that's focused on marketing? Does everybody sort of do it? And how much time? What's the capacity for marketing in a small business?
Whatever resources you have, you make it work. For us right now, we have a part-time person and myself, and that's working for now. Other times, I periodically like to bring in an outside resource, because I think it just helps bring in fresh ideas and helps you to do a gut check. Am I thinking through everything for my business? So and I think that's something that a small business, if you don't have your own marketing team, that could be another solution for you, is every once in a while you do bring in just a contract person or a third party to just come in and review what you're doing with you.
And for the marketing agency, that's obviously completely different than other small businesses. So I'll speak for the small businesses. Again, it was mostly me. When I was in tech, I was lucky to have 2 or 3 people underneath me. And the way that I would always communicate it is we're going to do the most with what we have. So basically, it was just taking inventory of what are the resources that we have and how can we make the most out of those. So I'm a huge believer in batching things as much as possible. So I like to batch my content a quarter at a time. So I can set and forget my content for 2 months. And then when it's the quarterly strategy again, I know that I have an entire day that is focused on analytics, strategy. I have a shot list. I can go record all my content the next day, and then I don't have to think about it anymore. So that's how I like to make the most of my resources. That's how I ran it internally at other businesses as well, where I just really like to focus on one thing at a time. Let's get this done. And then once we get that done, we can focus on some extra stuff. If we don't get it done in time, at least we got that done. So yeah.
Okay, so this is an algorithm question. Are you guys comfortable with that? Okay, so I'm kind of thinking about what you said about bringing in an outside consultant. I'm thinking about how we can support each other. So my question is, from an algorithm system, say you have 5 separate but connected businesses that are, founder led. If you create kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? A group of people who are going to consistently see each other's content and share it, is that going to positively impact the algorithm, or will the algorithm look at that as being, I can't remember the word, basically like to not be blacklisted? Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't think it will blacklist you. I just think it'll kind of get ignored.
Okay.
Would they all be set up in the same business manager, or are they separate pages?
All separate people.
All separate pages.
For example, the 3 of us collaborate on sharing our content. So I just don't want to have something like that would then get blacklisted by the algorithm. And then like you go into this like nothingness.
No,
As
no. No, partnerships are great. Like the more that you guys can work with each other, and again, like I'm a big quality person. So if you are working with someone else, you're usually having really good quality content because you have more people doing it and you're able to add more value. So I think as long as your quality is good, I don't think that there should be any issues with algorithms. Algorithms are fun because they change all the time. So the people that are liking and interacting with your posts are the people that Facebook thinks, oh, I'm going to serve it to more people. So I always like joke with my mom, if she keeps liking my post, I'm going to block her because she's not my ideal customer. I don't want her to like my post. So that is a part of it. But I also wouldn't discourage people from liking your post, right? So the algorithm is a very, very tricky thing. And that's why I moved over to a hybrid model, because trying to figure out the algorithm is brutal. And I love adding a little bit of paid ads to just guarantee that I'm getting in front of new and targeted customers.
okay.
Kind of a follow-up question to that about like collaborating posts on Instagram, for example. So I have a private page, it's like my personal page, but it's public, and then I also have obviously my real estate filter, so I have a real estate page as well. One of the things that I discovered is on my business page, if I make a reel or a video, my audio, particularly songs, are limited. So sometimes I will make that on my personal page because I can have all sorts of different music, and then invite my business page as a collaborator. Does that affect me negatively? Algorithm?
Have you seen a difference in your posts, like in the reach when you do that? Because I'd assume you'd get the reach on both accounts.
Well, no, I think it I'm just noticing overall Instagram likes are down in general, especially if it's just a post.
It's really, really hard right now. So one thing that I'll say, you can have a professional account that's not a business account, and it will give you access to all of those sounds. So switch your account to a professional account. You won't lose any functionality. It's like a creator account, right? So I would switch that over. You can still have your business listed at the top of what type of business it is. So like realtor, you can have that still. So I would switch it over to professional, so that way you're not forced to do it, but I don't think it hurts to collaborate. The music sucks. I have my agency account as a professional account and not a business account because I want to be able to use that music. Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about the difference between boosting posts and paid ads?
They're the same thing. It's just Meta wants people who are not familiar with Ads Manager, because Ads Manager is kind of complicated to learn. So they want to take your money, whether you know how to use the ads manager or not. So they offer the functionality of boosting posts. The one thing I'll say about boosting posts is it's gotten better. So it used to be like an absolute no, but now it's actually seeming to get a lot better. They give you targeting options now, so that's really, really cool. So it's not the worst. If you are boosting posts, you've probably noticed that if you're on an iPhone, you get an extra charge for boosting posts. So it's like a $10 extra charge every time you boost a post in the app on your iPhone. I like to use Ads Manager, so I don't have to, and I like having more control of my ads. But I've actually seen it work really well for small businesses. It's definitely getting better.
Do you want to? Okay, awesome. Looks like we have a few more minutes, so I can ask a few more questions unless anyone else has any lingering questions before. Yeah, you can start.
Is Ads Manager just like a separate application that comes with like having a professional or a business account?
You actually don't even need a professional account to do it. You can run it off a personal account. So you'll want to go into Meta Business Manager, and then in the like hamburger menu, all of the options will pop up. In the right-hand column under ads, you'll see Ads Manager. That will take you to a completely separate manager that's significantly more complicated. So there's 3 levels of ads. There's boosting posts, which happens in Instagram. It always pushes that. There's also the level of when you go into Meta Business Manager, there's an ads section that is like tier 2. And then the ultimate control that you can get in ads is in Ads Manager.
That makes sense.
Yep.
How do we learn all this stuff?
You want to stop her reading out?
It's hard. I mean, it's my entire job and I still have a hard time keeping up with it, right? So like I do feel for all the business owners out there where this isn't their entire job, because I have a really hard time. And I'm always interested in what you guys have to say, because you guys notice things and learn things that I don't know. And again, like it's been my entire job for 6 years. And I'm still learning every day because everything's changing. I've told everyone, but the head of Instagram, his name's Mosseri. It's Mosseri. He shares tips every single day on the algorithm changes that are happening, content performance, what type of content is performing, and where to focus. He does Ask Me Anythings on his stories. So if you see a story from him pop up, watch it, because it's gold. I mean, he's telling you either what has changed or the changes that are coming to prepare for. And then there's if anyone wants to learn ads, I actually have like a coach who has an ads program for small business owners. It's $300. It's super, super, super comprehensive. So if you want to learn how to run ads on your own, that is a resource. I would love to connect with you and send you that.
Spell that name again, Mosseri.
Mosseri. His first name's Adam.
Adam?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. What are your thoughts on keywords, like hashtags? How do you know?
Hashtags are getting taken away. Keyword.
How do you say it turned on?
And that's where we go back to quality, right? And it's knowing your audience and knowing the words that they will care about, and having that in your captions. So longer captions are going to help you significantly more. Storytelling captions are awesome, because then you can really get as many words as possible in there. But yeah, they're getting rid of hashtags because they want people to give more meaty captions instead of just like tagging the word. They want you to have to work for it now. Yeah, but keywords are so important. And the one trend that like is huge and I don't think is going to stop is the SEO that is social media now, because it's not just website. Like if I'm going to Chicago, I'm on Instagram and I'm typing in Chicago restaurants and I'm looking for usually the UGC influencer style content to tell me where to go. So that is huge right now. And keywords in your captions can be huge for that.
So, I have tried to keep my posts brief so that like people read it, because I feel like if it's too long, people don't read it. But going along what you're saying with keywords, it doesn't matter whether they read it or not, because if those words are there and they look for that, then they're going to do it to that regardless of whether they read it or not.
Yeah, and I would give people the option to read it, because Instagram sees how long people stay on your content. So the longer your caption is, the better, especially if you have like the trend right now that you'll see is the short B-rolls. So it's like 8 seconds, it's constantly looping, and then the information is all in the caption. So what that does is that signals to Instagram, oh, this piece of content is really, really good because they've watched it 50 times. And it's like, no, I was just reading the caption. Instagram does see all of that. So long captions are actually really good. Worst case scenario, they don't read it, but you are going to have like people who do, and that's your target audience, is the people that are willing to read it.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Well, we are up on time, so I just wanted to thank Laura and Lexi again for being here today on our panel. Wonderful. And thanks to all of you for coming out today. This is one of the best turnouts that we've had, and we're so excited that you all were here today. And let Mary close us out here.
Again, yes, thank you for coming. Thank you. This was great information, and clearly I'm seeing people taking notes, and I think we probably need more follow-up here. So marketing, it's huge. I do want to give a thank you. We collaborate with the John Papajohn Entrepreneurial Center on these lunches, and I don't think we have anybody here today from JPEC. We do. Sherry, okay. Sherry, do you have any announcements from JPEC you'd like to share? Okay. But they are huge supporters of this launch, and we're very glad to have them as a partner. So again, thank you, and watch for our next one in May. And I think there might be something about free money for small businesses starting up or expanding. So I think it'll be another great topic. Thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon.
One thing I wanted to share, I'm doing, sorry.
Okay, one more announcement. What's more?
If social media is your thing, I am doing a presentation with NuboCo on February 19th. It is a Wednesday in the morning, and we're going to be going through a social media audit checklist. So I will bring the checklist for you guys to go in, and we're going to go section by section and grade your profile, your quality of content, what your next steps are, and be able to work through that. So please join that if you guys are interested in social media. Okay, thank you.
Bye.